Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you love Naruto fanfics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the story. Let's begin with part 1. With a sight, Sasuke lays back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The desire for a tomato and cheese pizza was strong right now. He glances at his phone, considering making the effort to place the order online. It's not as if it was good for much else with only 3 numbers locked on it. Hey, Tachi, do you think that the pizza guy would be brave enough to walk up to the front door this time? I doubt it, but you could always try. I'm the only newborn vampire allowed on the bottom floor. So, it's not as though the delivery person is in danger of being bitten. Though Itachi couldn't blame anyone for wanting to run as far away from this place as possible. In fact, he spent every waking minute dedicated to just that pursuit. Do you think there'd be enough time before the party tonight? Sasuke glances up at his older brother sitting on the end of his bed. Itachi sat there a lot these days when Sasuke holed himself up in his room. You're not going to be the only set of fangs down there. Even the earliest guests likely won't arrive for another hour or so. Itachi glances at his golden watch. Yes, Orochimaru did lavish them with every creature comfort one could hope for, save for their freedom. Some of the staff members might be finishing up last-minute preparations, but they're mostly fledglings. They have enough control not to drain the delivery guy. Guess so. Sasuke's fingers type away on the phone without him ever needing to look at the screen. This is the last I'll see of you until tomorrow, right? You'll be wrapped up with your cougar all night long. Itachi's gaze softens. Sasuke had a habit of hiding his fear underneath an infinite sea of sarcasm. His little brother was scared, and as much as he'd like to pretend otherwise, Itachi knew that Sasuke had every reason to be as long as his heart still beat. Most likely, but I'll come back. I always do. She's fond of me, Sasuke. I think she'll help us escape. Are you sure that you're not just getting your hopes up, Itachi? Sasuke wasn't nearly as optimistic about this as his brother was. She's 600 years older than you. Who knows what her game is? I'd be lying if I said I hadn't considered the possibility before. There was always a chance that Mei might tell Orochimaru about his request, but Itachi didn't believe she had that level of treachery in her. Even if she did, Orochimaru wouldn't actually kill him. Itachi and Sasuke were too precious to the vampire to throw away in a blind rage. I don't believe she will, though. As you said, she's 600 years old. She's beautiful, powerful, and doesn't lack for offers when it comes to companionship. The fact she hasn't already tired of me speaks volumes. As much as it pained him to admit it, Itachi had a point. Still, that didn't mean that Sasuke trusted any vampires that weren't his brother. They were all playing some game, some agenda, no matter how nice they might seem. The only ones you could trust were family. Are you asking tonight? I am. There was precious little time to waste. Though it was uncommon to turn someone before 25 these days, Itachi knew that it was also possible Orochimaru might turn Sasuke as soon as his 18th birthday struck. But at least you'll have a pizza to enjoy while I'm at the party. Sasuke presses the screen of his phone and it flashes briefly as he places the completed order. Then he pulls a switch out from under his bed, unplugs it, and turns it on. Just try not to get pulled into a birthday orgy, Itachi. That's the last thing I want to hear tonight. Oh, I don't know, it might prove an educational experience. You always struck me as more of an auditory learner. Itachi chuckles, mischief shining in his ears. Don't worry, I might flirt to get information, but Mei's currently the only vampire I feel safe enough to share a bed with. Itachi had almost succeeded in completely conquering his bloodlust, but facts were facts. He might be an advanced newborn, but a baby vampire was still a baby. Older vampires always held an advantage when it came to raw power and, of course, experience in all manner of things. Yeah. Sasuke rolls his eye, then directs them back to his brother. It was so annoying when Itachi got like that, but he sort of got it. Enough that it didn't annoy him nearly as much as certain other aspects of his life did or had. Happy birthday, Tachi. Thank you, Sasuke. I suppose there are worse ways to spend it than by watching my little brother order pizza and with a gorgeous, ancient vampire. He smiles and reaches out to flick his little brother's forehead. With any luck, we'll be celebrating your birthday somewhere else. Sasuke's brow scrunches in annoyance as he bats Itachi's hand away after the completely unprovoked assault. Yeah, sure, and maybe next year we'll go to England for my birthday. As if Sasuke hadn't gotten to leave the state since he was 8, let alone the country. Maybe. May travels a great deal. She might indulge you with England. Itachi smiles, allowing Sasuke to swat his hand away. Even as a cranky teenager, his little brother still managed to be adorable. I should probably get going. You'll be safe as long as you stay in your room. Sasuke was usually safe out of it, but this was a party. Unknown vampires would be arriving who might not realize that his little brother was off limits when it came to feeding. I love you. Don't do anything foolish. I know. Wait for you to bring me my food, then don't come out until tomorrow when everyone's gone. They'd been through this so many times over the last 8 years. Only, until 2 years ago, Itachi was getting the same warning he was. Good. We'll get through this somehow, Sasuke. I promise. It was too late for Itachi. He'd already been turned, but Sasuke still had a chance for a normal life. Yeah, I know. It's what Itachi always said. And even if sometimes Sasuke felt like his brother was beating a dead horse, it was nice to know that he still cared. That he still had enough humanity left to feel something. It gave Sasuke a little hope for when he inevitably joined his brother in eternity. Just don't forget to bring up my pizza before you're off sucking face with your cougar. You sound jealous, Sasuke. I'm sure if one day when we're out of here and you sheath those quills of yours, you'll find someone to play with. Itachi shakes his head before slipping away. He had work to do. Somehow he had to convince Mei that whatever they had was worth risking Orochimaru's ire over one baby vampire and one human. About 2 hours later, Itachi had safely delivered his pizza and his birthday celebration was in full swing. He wasn't really sure why Orochimaru insisted on celebrating it, but it gave him a much-needed opportunity to see Mei. Itachi had found them a secluded corner that came with a couch. He smiles as he makes his way over towards her while carrying 2 glasses of bloodwine. I'm really happy you could make it. My birthday indeed would have been much sadder state of affairs without your presence, Lady Mei. Itachi didn't actually know if Mei was royal or not. She carried herself with a pride that spoke of nobility, though. You know that I wouldn't miss your birthday for the world, Itachi. Mei smiles warmly and plucks a glass of wine from his hand. She pats the cushion next to her and shifts to sit half facing him, one leg crossed over the other. How have you been, darling? He sits down, watching her. Mei was beautiful, but Itachi wasn't sure if she'd be their salvation. He hoped. It flirted on being likely, but there was always that chance Sasuke was right. Every vampire was playing their own game. I'm much better now that you're here, but I'll confess that our situation is growing more dire by the day. Sasuke's and mine. I've mentioned my brother to you before. Itachi knew it was unlikely she'd forget. He'd gleaned enough from various sources in his conversations with Mei to know for some godforsaken reason they were considered pedigreed because they were Uchiha. That was why Orochimaru had taken them under his care. Sasuke's humanity didn't negate that. Yes, the young human boy. Mei swirls the wine about, letting it breathe as the scent of blood tickles her nose. You know you're quite a tease, Itachi. You've told me about him, and I have yet to even see for myself what a handsome boy he must be. I would love for you to meet him, but Orochimaru would never allow it. My little brother has had precious little socialization with anyone besides Lord Orochimaru, myself, and Kabuto. Itachi pauses. Everything was riding on this conversation. Though I could show you a picture if you like. I'm told there is a family resemblance. He takes rather strongly after our mother. I'd love to see a picture of him. May sidles a little closer, intrigued by the prospect of seeing this elusive little brother that her young lover always kept hidden away. It was such a pity that she never got to see him at these parties. Itachi pulls a picture out of his wallet. I'm sorry. I'm afraid it's been quite some time since he's smiled for a photo. This is Sasuke, the person that Itachi would do anything for, including becoming a vampire to protect him. His most precious person who he needed to save before it was too late. May's bright eyes glance over the photo of the surly young man in the photo, smiling reluctantly. But it wasn't the reluctant smile that struck her, it was his face. He was a dead ringer for Izuna. Well, the two of you are certainly of the Uchiha clan. I've never seen anyone with such a resemblance to Lord Izuna. Your brother could be his son, or his twin if he were 7 years older. Itachi hadn't known that. He realized the Uchiha clan was ruled by two vampire brothers. Their names were Madara and Izuna, but he'd never actually seen what they looked like. This was new information. It might work to their advantage. If Lord Orochimaru has his way, I suppose Sasuke will have to settle for passing as Izuna's son. His 17th birthday is next month, he'll be 18 in a year. I've seen the way Orochimaru looks at him. Lord Orochimaru is not nearly as kind as you are. May's eyes narrow slightly, but as soon as the hard expression appears, it leaves her face again. Come here, Itachi. She takes a sip of the wine and pats the empty space upon her lap. She did so love having the newborn there, he was quite the fetching boy. Itachi didn't hesitate. He didn't have to craft an illusion with May. He was attracted to her. Her skilled touch was enough to make him forget the horrors that plagued his mind on a daily basis, if only for a while. As you wish, my lady. I'm not certain how you manage it, but you grow even more lovely every time I see you. He smiles, caressing her left cheek. Her skin was so soft. Itachi wasn't sure why he was surprised by that. What he had expected a vampire's skin to feel like, but the silken texture underneath his hand wasn't it. And you ever more charming, darling boy. The ancient vampiress smiles and pulls Itachi into a deep, consuming kiss. She had trained him well from the innocent human he had once been into a seductive young vampire. For no human woman could ever hope to compare to one such as her. Itachi allows himself to indulge the simple pleasure of the elegant kiss. He'd been spoiled and he knew it. May was seduction personified. She'd honed her craft of sensuality over many lifetimes, but Itachi liked to think that he was a fast learner. She hadn't gotten bored of him yet. Well, I'm blessed with an exceptional teacher when it comes to the arts of conversation and really all manner of things involving the usage of one's tongue. Yes, that's quite true. May smirks and kisses along his jaw, leaving faint red marks across his pale skin. When she reaches his ear, she bites down softly. I have a friend who may be able to help the two of you. She has connections to your clan and can make the right people aware of your existence. He sighs in pleasure, leaving into her possessive, affectionate displays. If your friend could help us, that would be wonderful. We'd be eternally grateful. His hand slides down her cheek, over the slender curve of her neck, and over the valley of her still clothed. We'd pay you back somehow. Itachi wasn't really sure how unless one counted him already being May's lover, but he'd find a way to do it. You have my word on that. May was older than Orochimaru. Far stronger than him, but Itachi knew enough about vampire society to realize that while Orochimaru could never hope to successfully defeat someone like her in combat, he could prove irritating. The man had a throng of loyal, fanatical followers and countless connections in the fields of law, medicine, politics, business, and just about every other industry of note that one could think of. It would have been impressive if he wasn't borderline psychotic. Oh, I'm sure that earning the goodwill of the Uchiha clan will be more than worth my time. Orochimaru may be powerful, but he bores me. May traces her lips back to Itachi's and holds the newborn's chin in her hand. Next time, I will return for you with news. Can you be patient for just a little longer? I can. I'm truly grateful to you. It's very kind of you to speak to your friend on our behalf. Itachi nods, wondering if their vampire relatives would care about a couple strays. Though he couldn't bring himself to voice the inquiry out loud. It was their best chance to regain their freedom. Perhaps their only one. Though I apologize for being such a poor host. You came here to enjoy the festivities, did you not? Are you aware a hot tub was recently installed on the estate's grounds? Oh, I was not, but that does sound rather lovely. Mei smiles and brushes a teasing kiss against Itachi's lips. Does this hot tub come with rose and hibiscus oils? Itachi smiles, nodding. It does indeed. I like to think I know my lady's tastes. And know them you do. Mei laughs and the sound carries through the air to whoever cared to hear it. It was the sole part of their conversation that any might have overheard. Shall we? We shall. Itachi smiles, offering Mei his hand. He might as well enjoy the rest of his birthday. Thoroughly. It was just past noon when Itachi wakes with a start upon hearing the door to his room open. The night have been wonderful. Mei's attention a bomb on his anxious mind, but of course, now, it was over and apparently he wouldn't be permitted the luxury of enjoying the afterglow of the night's events for long. Lord Orochimaru, to what do I owe the pleasure at this hour? If memory serves, you usually sleep during the day and conduct your business at night. Like most vampires preferred. I do, but you need not concern yourself about my welfare. The pale vampire strides into the room without a sound to his footsteps. I conducted all of my business, had enough spare time to see to half of your party, and then rested more than long enough. His yellow eyes seem to glow as he smiles. How did you fare at the party, Itachi? Did you enjoy yourself with Mei? How unfortunate for Itachi, but he had long ago learned how to hide his emotions underneath a polite facade. It was by far the most useful skill he'd developed since becoming a vampire. I am glad to hear you fare well, and with all due respect, my lord, that answer should be self-explanatory. What man wouldn't enjoy spending an evening with Lady Mei? Of course, there is no end to that woman's beauty or her charms. Orochimaru's lips turn up in amusement. I'm sure that you'll have just as grand a time when she next comes to visit for Sasuke's birthday. Indeed, there isn't. Itachi manages to maintain his smile. Sasuke's next birthday. His 17th. One more year, that was all that was left. I wouldn't bother with a cake. Sasuke prefers pizza. Teenagers. True, but not long ago you were an adolescent yourself. And now you've grown into a fine young vampire. Just as he will. A most satisfying addition to Orochimaru's collection. Soon enough, he would have another. And I have noted that your brother has never had a sweet tooth. Do not worry, there will be plenty of Sasuke's pizza and tomatoes, if that's what he wishes for. You're right, he will. Itachi would make sure of it. That's very kind of you. I'm certain Sasuke will appreciate it in his own unique way. The newborn had finally settled, it seemed. Good. Orochimaru could be patient, but pointless defiance bored him. As I said to you after your turning, Itachi. One day, you would come to appreciate the gift I have bestowed on you, and that it would not bother you so to know that your brother would one day join you. After all, was eternal life not the pinnacle of humanity's hopes? What was the point in living if one lived only to die? The truly great must live on for eternity. The two of you will have an eternity together under my care. Be patient for another year and he will be of age. I promise that it won't be long, Itachi. Itachi imagined driving a stake through that black thing that masqueraded as Orochimaru's heart. Spending an eternity with the vile beast before him was nothing more than a long way to describe hell. He could only pray that Mei would keep her word. I can be patient. Good. Now, I've prepared more lessons for you. And don't worry if you make a mistake, I made sure to acquire enough stock to replace anything you might break. Orochimaru licks his lips at the prospect of teaching his protege. And one day Itachi might look back on the gifts he had so generously been given and truly appreciate what he had done. Today I thought that we might work on compulsion now that your bloodlust is under relative control. Your confidence in my abilities is flattering, but perhaps it would be best to wait a while longer. Compulsion is a skill that most don't begin using until they're at least fledgling. It takes Itachi's self-control not to punch the bastard. He knew exactly what Orochimaru meant by stock people. God only knows what sorts of compulsion the cretin wanted him to practice on them. People were not meant to be replaced as if they were nothing more than appliances. That may be true, but I believe that my confidence is well founded. Orochimaru's eyes gleam with want, for he had seen Itachi at work, mastering the basics of his new vampiric state faster than any newborn before him. The picture he presented was tantalizing. I would go so far as to say that you've achieved the control of a fledgling far sooner than any child I've ever sired. At the very least, I believe that you could learn to compel humans into performing simple tasks. You may begin with making them move, making them speak, making them fetch things for you. Baby steps, of course. Of course. Well, I shall try my best. Itachi nods as his mind reels at the possibilities. Would it be preferable to fail at the skill? He could potentially get away with it. His age was a likely excuse, but if he didn't shine like the jewel Orochimaru thought him to be, what would the consequences be? Perhaps a middle ground. Good. I expect nothing less from one of my most accomplished children. Orochimaru's violet tongue licks slowly over pale lips. Now come, Itachi. Get dressed and meet me downstairs to begin your lesson. I would like to have you master the basics by sundown. Oh, how Itachi would like to rip that ugly, inhuman tongue out of Orochimaru's filthy mouth. Of course, I shall be there momentarily. Good. I look forward to watching you, very closely. The manic light grows brighter in Orochimaru's snake-like yellow eyes. Even disheveled and irritated while half awake, Itachi was nothing short of perfection. As Sasuke would be too. I will leave you to dress and go see if Sasuke would like to attend the lesson. It would do him some good to watch his flawless older brother in action. Perhaps you'd prefer to wait for us. Sasuke has already adjusted to the nocturnal lifestyle of our kind. Like hell was Itachi going to leave Orochimaru alone in the same room with his baby brother. He's always in a foul mood whenever he's awakened from a slumber. Best I rouse him and you not trouble yourself. We'll be along shortly. Very well. Orochimaru sighs in disappointment. I will be waiting out in the training yard. Come find me when you've woken him. He steps away from Itachi's bed, but not without leaving a lingering glance behind him. For such a perfect being, Itachi could be a handful sometimes. Such a pity he preferred women. The door shuts again behind him. Damn it. The way Orochimaru looked at him never failed to make Itachi's skin crawl. Just a little while longer. That's what May had promised. Just a little while longer and they'd both be free from that deviant devil. The wonders of modern technology would never cease to amaze May. They made life so complex and yet so easy. With the press of a button, you could explore the thoughts of millions, be anywhere in the world that caught your fancy, even speak to a friend half a world away. She relaxes back into her large, luxurious jacuzzi tub and breathes in the soft scent of the bubbles all around her. She lifts a few from the surface with the back of her hand and presses a damp finger to the screen of her phone to call her friend. A video call, of course, for it had been too long since she last saw her friend's face. A smile curls May's lips when her call is finally yet quickly answered by a woman with dark eyes and flowing indigo hair. Naori, it's good to see you again. Indeed it has been. You're looking rather pleased with yourself. Naori smiles, shaking her head in fond exasperation. What's this one's name? I know you well enough by now to tell when you've found an interesting playmate. In so many ways, she and May were the exact opposite. Her friend preferred to sample every delight the world had to offer. One of her chief pleasures was indulging in the companionship of handsome, younger vampires. Her friend was an excellent hedonist. Naori, on the other hand, well, it wasn't by choice, but she was a masochist. She had spent most of her existence watching the one man she loved from afar. He might as well be the moon. Ah yes, I have found a new playmate. Young, newly turned, sheltered, but so willing to learn. He's quite the intelligent young man and a quick study. Mei was more than happy with her lover's efforts to please her. His name is Itachi. He's Orochimaru's newest child. He does sound promising, but I cannot say that I care much for his sire. Orochimaru was a viper in Naori's eyes. He was just as likely to bite the hand that fed him as to thank it. The name does roll off the tongue pleasantly, though. Yes, and he's as easy on the eyes as you would expect, from a descendant of the illustrious Uchiha clan. Mei knew it would be a hard pill for Naori to swallow, but accept it she must. Itachi depended on it. Mei, you are one of my oldest and dearest friends. That is why I will give you a chance to retract your jest made in such bad taste. Naori's eyes narrowed. For someone the likes of Orochimaru to have sired one of their own kin was unthinkable. Mei's smiles fades, her expression growing serious. Itachi made a request for my help, Naori. He wants to be free of Orochimaru. Both him, and his little brother, Sasuke. I've seen a picture of the human child, Naori. He could be Izuna's twin if he wasn't still so young. They're Uchiha, I would bet my life on it. Naori frowned. Mei was many things, but a liar she was not. Then I shall take you at your word. I will need you to tell me everything you know of this Itachi and Sasuke. If the younger resembles Izuna to such an extent, it should prove easy to identify him. Itachi may prove harder. It was unthinkable, and yet, her friend looked deadly serious. I shall reach out to Obito. I have faith that he will wish to right this blasphemy just as much as we do. He'll assist us. Thank you. But I promise that there will be no challenge to identify Itachi. Despite the situation, Mei smiles once more. He'll be the only newborn allowed downstairs, and the most handsome to boot. You sound rather smitten. It was enough to bring a smile to Naori's face despite the untenable situation. In that case, I shall leave you to enjoy your bath while I speak with Obito. Mei raises a glass of wine as Naori disappears from the screen. The wheels were in motion. Her promise to Itachi would be kept, especially with that man on the job. Itachi wasn't happy about it, but he roused Sasuke. It left a bitter taste in his mouth to know his baby brother was going to witness whatever demented training Orochimaru had in store for him. Perhaps it really would be as simple as ordering humans to fetch commonplace items. He could only hope that would be the case. Orochimaru coveted the natural talent Itachi possessed. It was both a blessing and a curse. Really, his biology was the only card he had to play in this demented game. The teenager grumbles and pulls his blankets up until only the ends of his spiky locks jut out from under the deep blue blankets. Go away, Tachi. He didn't want to get up just yet, it was still too early in the day. The sun wasn't even starting to go down yet. You can either come with me now or Orochimaru will come to get you himself. Believe me, you don't want the latter option. It was a cruel way to greet his brother, but Sasuke's safety took priority over his brother's love for sleeping in. He wants you to watch my training. He was going to come and get you himself, but I talked him out of it. The protests stop, but two very unhappy dark eyes peek out from under the blanket. You mean he wants me to come? What? How much better you are than me now that you're a vampire? Give me something to aspire to when he finally turns me. In his demented mind, that's likely an accurate assessment. Itachi flicks Sasuke's forehead. He hated how his brother's voice had already grown so bitter. He wasn't even 20 yet and already Sasuke had grown so jaded. He's wrong, though. My being a vampire doesn't make me better than you, but we are both better than him. Sasuke, I spoke with Mei. I think if we play this game just a while longer, her friend will help us escape. Sasuke rubs his forehead and scowls as he sits up. You're putting an awful lot of faith into your cougar, Itachi. Right, if they played their cards right and waited patiently, they'd be rescued, just like princesses in a fairy tale. If you have a better idea, I'm listening. Itachi had to have faith. Otherwise, that meant he and Sasuke would forever be Orochimaru's puppets. The thought was enough to make him want to vomit. Sasuke's eyes narrow, then close. He tosses the blankets aside and slips past his brother and away from his bed. He pulls off the shirt he'd worn to bed and reaches into his closet for a fresh one and a pair of jeans. He pulls them on without a word. He hated this. Hated the way that Orochimaru made him feel so inadequate for still being human. It wasn't his fault that he was still too young to be turned. It wasn't his fault that Itachi hadn't fought harder to not be turned. Now, what choice was there? He was going to be turned whether he wanted to or not, because he wasn't going to leave Itachi. Not now, not ever. What lesson does he have planned for today? He zips up his jeans over dark boxers and slides his arms into a light jacket. Itachi sighs. He might not be able to read minds, but he knew Sasuke. His brother was brooding. Badly. That was never a good sign. Brooding lead to anger, and anger in Sasuke's case meant that it was likely things would be set on fire. He's convinced that I should start learning compulsion. Sasuke glances at his brother and uncertainty flickers through his eyes. And just who are you going to be practicing on? It's not like he can bring you some of his flunkies to practice with. Vampires can't be compelled. He's sick, Sasuke. He's brought some humans to practice on. Itachi looks away in shame. His voice soft, apologetic. He says we'll start with simple commands. Things that won't hurt them. Jet black yes darken with hatred. You're right, he's sick. He shouldn't be getting innocent people involved in our mess. It wasn't right, it wasn't fair, and it almost guaranteed that those humans would end up dead instead of returned home. Have you considered practicing on me? Sasuke, I would never do that to you. It's bad enough to do it on a stranger, but to you. Itachi shakes his head, taking Sasuke's hand in his. He'd rather die. Never. Now come on. We have to play our parts convincingly if we want out of this hell. Well, Sasuke couldn't think of anything more convincing than helping Itachi with his training. But as usual, he was going to have to sit on the sidelines. Why don't you want me to become a vampire, Itachi? We both know it's going to happen one way or another. Either he turns me, or I'll make you turn me when you think I'm old enough. I want you to be able to have a normal life, Sasuke. His eyes soften. Itachi could barely find the words. You should be allowed to become an adult, to fall in love, to have children, and a life that you don't have to fear one day you'll lose control and kill someone. The bloodlust when you first turn it's not something I'd wish on my worst enemy. What's worse is the changes your mind undergoes. Predatory instincts kick in, and if you're not careful, they consume when it comes to far more than just feeding. I'm not afraid, Itachi. Sasuke scoffs at the thought. If Itachi could handle the transformation, then so could he. Besides, plenty of girls had tried catching his affections before he'd gotten pulled out of school. He hadn't had any interest in any of them. And children annoying. Let's go, the snake will come find us if we keep standing around talking. He pushes the door to his room open and stalks out into the hall. Itachi frowns. Sasuke might not be afraid of becoming a vampire, but he should be. It was addictive. You're right, he will. He tries to banish that thought as he follows his precious, foolish little brother towards the Viper. Sasuke knew the way through these twisting, maze-like hallways to the training yard by heart. He'd been there often enough when Orochimaru wanted to test his strength, his speed. A vampire's gym class for the home-schooled human. Beyond the double doors leading outside, a cobblestone pathway leads down to the training pit, a 15-foot deep hole in the ground that ran 50 feet across. A place big enough for a few vampires to fight comfortably. Lord Orochimaru, we're here. Itachi's eyes narrow as he surveys the training yard. Where was that damn snake? That's good. A soft, pleased hiss slithers into their ears as Orochimaru approaches them from the shadows behind them. Are you ready, Itachi? He wasn't, but Itachi knew that didn't matter. Orochimaru was so willing to believe any lie Itachi fed him. I'm ready. Then come. Orochimaru smirks and turns towards the steps leading down into the pit. Every step ahead revealed the treat he'd procured for Itachi. 6 humans in, varying states of shabby dress standing still and blank-eyed. Orochimaru knew that society rather frowned upon kidnapping, so he'd found subjects that wouldn't be missed. Here are your new toys, Itachi. Itachi had never wanted to stake Orochimaru more. And what would you have me do with them? The blank look in their eyes, was that purely compulsion? Orochimaru's lips curl into a wicked grin. I think it might be fun to watch you play with them a little, Itachi. You could have them fight one another, fuck one another, twist themselves into knots to please you. It is your compulsion, Itachi. Whatever you have them do, you must want them to do it for you. Only years of practice allow Itachi to hide his disgust. He was tempted to order them to leave, but Itachi discounts that. Orochimaru might have them killed if he did so, and even if he didn't, the Viper would make him suffer for the act of mercy in one way or another. Itachi could only hope that Mei would be true to her word. That her friend would come true. Orochimaru's depravity was accelerating. He had to make the humans do something. More likely something more impressive than playing fetch. He glances at the six, trying to decide who was the strongest. Deciding on a man in what Itachi guessed was in his early 30s, he wills the magic into his eyes. Itachi didn't know if it would even work, but he had to try. Failure would only result in more suffering for these people. Come to me. It takes a moment, for over the course of several seconds, then man doesn't move. Then, he takes a loping step forward, almost staggering towards the young vampire like a zombie. The slowness and unnatural movement makes it all the more painful. This man was completely defenseless. I want you to tilt your head to the side. You are not to move until I permit you to do so. The hobbling man stops in his tracks and his head lolls to the side. Sasuke's eyes narrow. There was no strength at all in that man's body. It was like, his gaze shifts to Orochimaru. Orochimaru's lips twitch, then his eyes glow briefly. A young woman, dressed in ratty street clothes and tattoos up her neck, raises her hands to her mouth and screams. What are you doing? And one by one the remaining four regain consciousness and begin to panic. Bastard. He woke them up. Sleep. All of you sleep immediately. Itachi scarcely holds back a snarl. Orochimaru had done this on purpose. Was he really so predictable? Had Orochimaru anticipated he'd drink from the humans instead of other options, or would the snake have uncompelled them anyway? Orochimaru's snake-like eyes gleam as three of the victims fall asleep instantly, but the girl and two older homeless men turn tail and run. They're getting away, Itachi. I don't think you tried hard enough. Damn it. I said to sleep. Itachi's voice booms like thunder across the training grounds, his eyes flashing red. The two elderly men stumble and fall to the ground with muffled thumps, but the girl looks back over her shoulder in terror and stops at the edge of the pit. Her hands dig into the dirt and stone as she begins to climb up the side. Orochimaru licks his lips appreciatively. That one has such spirit, doesn't she? Best ensure that she doesn't run away and tell someone, Itachi. Why wasn't he strong enough? Itachi glowers, darting off after the girl. If he couldn't use compulsion, he'd have to just knock her out. His newly enhanced speed makes catching up with her easy. His knowledge of human anatomy makes rendering her unconscious even easier. Just a simple pinch to a nerve in her neck and she goes limp. He catches her effortlessly. I have to admire your spirit, but I am trying to help you. His words were little more than a whisper as he carries her back to Orochimaru. All the while his every instinct screaming at him to escape with Sasuke and these poor people. Sasuke watches the spectacle with discomfort. But his eyes widen with alarm as he sees dark droplets fall to the ground from the girl's hands. Itachi. Put her down and get away from her. Itachi immediately sets the girl down and jumps several feet back. Already he could feel his fangs lengthening. What had he done to piss the universe off so much? He could feel himself salivating over the thought of her blood. Itachi had mastered the urge to sink his fangs into every human around him, but when they were bleeding, it was much harder. Sasuke races across the pit and shivers as he feels Orochimaru's hungry gaze on his back. He stops between his brother and the human girl and blocks the view of the blood as he examines her hands. The cuts were deep across her palms and she'd ripped a number of nails in her fear. Not that he cared about her, he just didn't want her to become his brother's next snack and have Itachi guilt-ridden over it for the next decade. Damn it. He reaches into the pocket of his jacket and pulls out a small plastic bottle filled with a thick dark liquid. He tosses it to his brother and throws a hard look over his shoulder. Drink that. Itachi catches the bottle and slowly sips the contents. The longer he could make it last, the better. Sasuke, take her to Kabuto and see that she's treated. A broken toy is of little use to me. Itachi almost winces as the word toy escapes his lips, but he had to make it look convincing. A muscle tightens in Sasuke's jaw. He knew how much it hurt Itachi to say something like that. Fine. He picks her up and pulls her arm around his neck and over his shoulder. He shoots a dirty look at Orochimaru as he drags her out of the pit and up the path towards the sprawling, darkened mansion. But Orochimaru says nothing, for he was more than pleased with the display. Well done, Itachi. You've learned how to control your bloodlust well. A pity you didn't get a proper feeding in, but I suppose that your little brother's blood will have to do. I'm glad my efforts pleased you, Lord Orochimaru. Itachi strains himself to keep his voice neutral as he watches Sasuke leave with the girl in tow. Orochimaru watches a trickle of blood dribble from the corner of Itachi's lips. Knowing where it came from has him licking his lips. I always did wonder how his blood might taste. I can't wait to find out for myself when I make Sasuke as perfect as you. It tasted like the death of innocence. Itachi never should have tasted Sasuke's blood, but it was for emergency situations like this. We'll see what fate has in store for all of us. Forgive me, I find myself rather exhausted. A pity. I suppose that we'll have to increase your lessons so that you might build up suitable stamina. It was one of Itachi's few disappointing features. His lack of stamina, and, of course, his penchant for mercy. Obito's tastes had always tilted towards a strange fusion of Heian period Japan, Renaissance Spain, and the newest modern trends. Yes, the clan considered him to be on the eccentric side, and they were right. He was. He loved it, and it was why he usually didn't stick his nose into larger clan matters. He had his little family, his mate and his children. Most had left the nest by now, but there were a few he kept close still. But even though Obito didn't usually worry about problems outside of the family he'd pulled together, that didn't mean that he stayed oblivious to them. After all, once an Uchiha, always an Uchiha. As the woman who sat before him knew very well. It's been a long time since you last came for a visit, Naori. He swirls his sake and catches the dimming rays of sunlight brought by dusk in the clear wine. A mischievous smile pulls at his lips. I was starting to think you didn't like me anymore. You know that I adore you. It's clan politics that I prefer to avoid. Naori shakes her head with a gentle sigh. It had been far too long since she had last seen her old friend. In this case, it can't be helped. Obito, something horrible has happened. Obito's smile doesn't fade but his gaze sharpens with a keen intelligence. Oh, worse than what Kagami wore to our last clan gathering. I have pictures if you'd like to see them. It was a hilarious horror show. While that does sound tempting, this is a serious matter. Naori bit her lower lip hard enough to draw blood with her fang. You know of May, yes. She is one of my closest friends. I trust her word completely. If I did not, I would not ask this of you. Yes, usually I'm the last one that the clan comes to for help. Too headstrong. Too irresponsible. Too content to sit back from the fighting. A dangerous gleam flares in Obito's eyes. He played at being younger than he was, found it fun, found it truer to himself than trying to be serious and broody all of the time. Still, it wasn't wise to underestimate him. What sort of intervention are you looking for, Naori? What kind of help can I give you? Obito, we both know that is all nothing more than an act. You prefer to be left to your own devices, but you're just as fearsome a warrior as any in our clan. Anyone who thought otherwise was a fool as far as Naori was concerned. I need you to help me rescue two young men. They are both of Uchiha blood and one has already been turned against his will. We have reason to suspect Orochimaru will turn the other one into a vampire once he's of age. The boy is just shy of his 17th birthday. Obito whistles lowly, then takes a sip of his sake. It seemed he'd made the right choice in company today. Orochimaru has guts to be turning an Uchiha, I'll give him that. Though letting it get out that he has means he's going to end up with those guts of his laying on the floor. You said May told you about this. Orochimaru has a death wish even if he doesn't know it. I can't imagine he'll survive this treachery. Naori was fully aware the snake's influence extended far, but there were some offenses that couldn't be left unpunished. This was chief among them. Yes, May told me of it. I have a picture of the elder brother she sent to me on my phone. She also tells me that Sasuke, the younger brother, could pass for Lord Izuna's twin were he a few years older. Send me the photo later, I'll pass it along to one of my children. I think that he could do with stretching his legs. Obito hums softly as he considers the case set before him. Taking them is going to tip Orochimaru off and he'll inevitably go into hiding, but their safety has to be the first priority. I shall be sure to do so. But you're right, the snake will slither off, and goodness only knows what atrocities they've endured already. Naori sighs. Her imagination was more than sufficient to paint an infinite sea of horrific scenarios. The elder is intelligent. It seems he charmed May and pleaded with her for help. Either he's the luckiest newborn in the world or he's strategic enough to realize who can pull the levers of powers to get him out of there. I would guess he's smart enough to have figured out that the older the vampire, the more connections they're likely to have. And there aren't very many older vampires without a connection to our family. I would think that the issue would be finding someone to help him who isn't loyal to Orochimaru. And it looked to Obito like this boy had managed the impossible in a den full of vipers. Naori allows herself a small, hopeful smile. Itachi found that person. Now the rest is up to us. Our biggest challenge will be to get them out of their sight unseen. There is also the matter of trust. The boys need to recognize who is coming to help them. Yes, I thought that a covert mission might be the way to go. Obito tilts his head, then looks back over his shoulder towards the empty hall and the staircase leading up to the second floor. Do you think you could bring down one of your jade bead bracelets? For a moment, there's silence, then a shadow moves from behind the stairs. Of course. The shadow disappears up the stairs like a ghost. I agree that covert would be best, a full strike would be nothing short of a war declaration. Naori purses her lips at the thought. Many would die. Orochimaru had countless underlings. Innocent lives that had bought his sweet lives would be lost. We're so fortunate your son is so fast. I believe his speed may even rival that of Lord Madara's and Lord Izuna's. For the longest time she had thought such a feat was impossible even for vampires, but she had since been proven wrong. Orochimaru currently resides in an estate in Chicago. Getting in and out without causing a commotion will prove challenging. Chicago, I see, that's going to be quite a trip. Putting them on a plane wouldn't be smart because anyone in Orochimaru's position would of course check passenger manifests. Obito wasn't fool enough to think that Orochimaru didn't have minions everywhere he could reach. I can have my son drive over to pick them up, it will take 2 days to get there and 2 to come back, but he's the most discreet of my children and his face isn't well known outside the family. And with his talents, Orochimaru won't even know he's there. But the boys will. Obito hums for a moment. A gift from the ancestors. That sounds like something he'd say. And rather fitting. After all, they are being saved by family. Naori's lips twitch upwards in amusement. On the surface it looked like the perfect plan. 4 days is quite the journey, but you're right about the flights. Orochimaru has eyes and ears everywhere. This way would be more difficult for him to track and your son's relative anonymity should prove useful. And so would his other talents, if anything stopped them in their path. Obito sits back, satisfied that he could count on his son. If they're to recognize their rescuer, then be sure to send May a picture for reference. Only the faint brush of a vampiric aura and the appearance of a pale hand on the back of the couch just beside Obito's shoulder give any hint of the young vampire returning. I have it. He holds out his hand and opens his fingers to reveal a single circular piece of deep green jade with a mirror polish inlaid with characters etched in gold. Have the one I'm meant to meet with wear this and I'll find him. I will. Naori's gaze finds the young man and glitters at the sight of the beautiful piece. It's lovely and I promise you that he will be wearing it. You're more likely to find Itachi than Sasuke first. Orochimaru hides the still human brother away in his room from what I hear. Obito lifts the bracelet from his child's hand and offers it to Naori. I think we've got all of the details we need. As long as you can have May bring something back from Itachi for my son to wear when he arrives, I'm sure that he can the situation for himself and decide the best way out. I think we can manage that. Sasuke's birthday is next month. May will have an excuse to visit Itachi. Naori handles the jade with care. Not only was it beautiful to look at, it might well end up being a key to the boys' freedom. Good. Then we'll get the jeep loaded up with everything they might need for a long road trip. Obito glances back at the young vampire standing quietly behind him. Do you have everything you need to know? I do. Onyx's eyes glow gently with sympathy and determination. They'll disappear from their prison and vanish into thin air within 3 days. I promise. Good. Obito smiles teasingly and pours himself another cup of sake. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Naori. I'm sure we're both very honored by the trust you're putting in us. I should be thanking the two of you. I'm not sure I could have managed to rescue him without a war without your help. Naori offers them a gentle smile, feeling a heavy burden alight from deepest depths of her undead heart. The boys would be safe. No one should suffer under Orochimaru's care. If you need anything, I believe you know how to contact me. Of course. Obito sighs softly. Why was it that whenever it came to rescuing a young member of their clan, he was the one who ended up growing his collection? Well, it wouldn't be any hardship to take in 2 more strays. It would be nice to have children in the house again after so long. Maybe he should talk to Kakashi about adopting a few more. Moron. Idiot. Imbecile. Bitch. Brown nose. Waste of space. Sasuke's gazes drifts over the throng of gathered vampires, unimpressed by the flunkies that Orochimaru had gathered in some semblance of a birthday party. He'd tried to get out of it. Every year he tried to get out of it. But every year, Orochimaru insisted on having a party, inviting people that Sasuke didn't know or didn't care about, all so that their guardian could show off his prized pet human. It all made Sasuke want to puke. In the middle of Orochimaru's grandstanding, Sasuke quietly wanders away from the vampires held in rapt attention by Orochimaru's slimy charisma. Give him pizza and movies in a locked room with Itachi any day. He knew that Kabuto would catch him sneaking off, but he didn't care. So long as he didn't leave the set of rooms set aside for the party, Orochimaru's gopher wouldn't say anything. Nothing worth listening to, anyway. He finds a seat on the couch next to his brother in the sitting room just off the grand ballroom. I hate birthday parties. You used to love them, but I know. There are few things worse than when Orochimaru decides to spoil us. Itachi sighs, shaking his head. His hand resting on Sasuke's shoulder in a gesture of comfort. It's even worse in some ways when he shows you off while still human. We'll be free soon, though. Itachi allows the Japanese to flow off his tongue. He had spent years practicing. Overhearing snippets of conversations from some of Orochimaru's foreign guests combined with a curiosity about their heritage had motivated him to learn the language. Well, he could speak it. Reading it was another matter. Sasuke pausing before replying in kind, the words a little halting and uncertain. You're very optimistic that your lady is going to come through on this. I prefer to remain optimistic. If I'm wrong, our circumstances remain unchanged. If Itachi was right, though, everything would. If I'm right, we'll be free. And what do we do once we're free? Sasuke stares at the opposite wall as if he could burn it down just by glaring. Will you go back to university and finish your degree? Settle down and have a vampire family with May? I'm not sure. I hadn't thought that far ahead. Freedom was such an elusive dream, that his priorities had always been keeping Sasuke safe foremost and looking for an escape second. Nothing else had ever been factored into the equation. I might go back to university, but I doubt a vampire family with May is in my future. I like her. Itachi liked her a lot. He knew the feeling was mutual. But I also know I'm a newborn and she has many people vying for her attention. Sooner or later, I imagine someone else will catch her eye. But is that something you want? A vampire family? Sasuke takes a moment to stop glaring at the wall and glances at his brother. Itachi always did insist that Sasuke should take his time to be human first, have kids, have a family. Forget being a vampire at all. A vampire family. Itachi tilts his head at the thought. Being held captive by Orochimaru had forced Itachi to alter his goals. No longer did he envision a long-term future. Only a short-term one. Survival came first. Hopes and dreams, those were elusive concepts. I hadn't really considered such things. Right now, I have you and that's more than enough for me. If I met someone later, maybe, but no matter what happens, you'll always be my brother, Sasuke. No one can change that. I'd never leave you behind. Yeah, and I'm not leaving you behind either. Sasuke snorts softly and closes his eyes. So no more talk about me staying human, alright? Those plans evaporated the day you woke up dead. And the day I become a vampire, the first thing I'll do is go for Orochimaru's throat. That was Itachi's worst nightmare. His baby brother becoming a vampire and dying a permanent death when he faced off against Orochimaru. I won't mention it again, but I'll kill him for you. Not without Sasuke, he wasn't. Fine, I'll let you come and get a shot in, but that bastard is mine. How generous of you. Itachi shakes his head, a wistful splash of amusement peppering his expression. Sasuke rolls his eyes and leans forward to stand up. Looks like your cougar is coming. He knew that mane of long auburn hair almost as well as Itachi did, much to his dismay. I'll leave you two to your plotting and plowing. I must commend your alliteration skills. He rolls his eyes good-naturedly, before flicking Sasuke's forehead. Just think perhaps one day you'll have a playmate of your own. That'll be the day. Sasuke stalks off in a huff to find another hidden corner somewhere he wouldn't have to talk to anyone. The vampiress glances over her shoulder with an amused smile as the angst-filled teenager disappears from sight. A shame he's not in a better mood with a party going on around us. I can't blame him. I've never enjoyed Orochimaru's celebrations either. It's even worse when one is the guest of honor. He offers her a brave smile as he makes room for her on the couch. I am glad that you could make it, though. My days are far drearier when you're not around. It wasn't a lie. Sasuke and Mei were the only people that Itachi looked forward to seeing. Then maybe I could offer to introduce you to a friend to make your days less dreary. She smiles warmly and runs her fingers through Itachi's hair, then presses a kiss to his neck. That would be wonderful. A soft sigh of pleasure escapes his lips. Mei had long ago learned his neck was his weakness. She smirks as kisses again to leave a soft mark on his skin. Itachi, have you ever tried kissing a man before? Itachi blinks, the question stopping him in his tracks. Mei was as always full of surprises. No. Why do you ask? Because I'm afraid that I have to be away during Orochimaru's next party, so I thought I would send a friend in my place. He's a lovely, kind little thing. I think you'd like him. Mei nips at Itachi's ear perhaps a little harder than strictly necessary. He even gave me a gift for you to wear to the party. He squirms at the nip. Itachi watches Mei with confused eyes. That's very kind of you. He does sound lovely, but that wouldn't upset you. I'll confess that I'm curious about the gift, though, and anyone who catches your eye must be special. Yes, he's very special. And such a handsome boy too. Much like you, though you take after your family's classical looks far more than he does. Mei reaches into the small purse at her hip and holds a beautiful carved jade bracelet between her fingers. A token so that he will know who you are. Itachi eyes the bracelet. It might very well be his ticket to freedom. It's beautiful. I thank you, my lady, and I have something for him as well. Itachi reaches underneath his shirt, pulling out a silver chain with a large ruby pendant on it. Give him this. So, I'll know it's him. Mei cradles the necklace in her palm and smiles at the beautiful, yet simple craftsmanship. It's a very fetching piece. She tucks it away in her purse, then raises a hand to cradle the side of Itachi's face. Now, he may be young, but he's traditional, in a number of ways. So don't be surprised if he buries you in compliments. His favorite is to call his lover a gift from the ancestors. I'm glad you think so. It was a present from my younger brother for my birthday. It was the most valuable possession he owned, and not just because of its beauty. Still, there was the matter of Mei's friend. I shall remember that phrase, but I must say that escalated quickly from a kiss to lovers. What can I say? When you see him, you'll understand. Even Mei couldn't help herself when it came to that boy. Polite and well-spoken to his elders, a calming serenity about him, and a playful mischievous streak he got from his sire. And taking him to bed, Mei laughs slyly. He's an exceptionally attentive lover. And I think it should be a crime not to pull on those curls. Itachi had thought he'd lost his ability to blush after taking Mei as a lover. Apparently, he hadn't. He could already feel his cheeks growing warm at her words. I feel as though I should be jealous, but it's only natural. A rose as lovely as you would have many admirers. He sounds charming, though. Charming enough that Itachi's mind was crafting a rather alluring portrait of the vampire who had earned such high praise from Mei. The person who might very well be the key to his and Sasuke's freedom. Do you think that your friend can free us from this gilded cage? I think that Naori and Obito couldn't have picked a finer young man to act as your knight in shining armor. Mei pats Itachi's cheek. But I fear that after tonight, you and I may not have the chance to see one another for quite some time. Distance will be the price for your freedom. A knight in shining armor to whisk us away from that sadistic snake does sound nice. Itachi tilts his head at the name. Obito. He had heard that name before. Whispered here and there. Obito was like Mei, another elder. Itachi hadn't heard of a Naori before, but he'd take anyone's help who could get them out of here. It saddens me we won't see each other for a while. That's a heavy price to pay, but we may as well make the most of this night then. You expressed interest in erotic massages. Mei laughs and brushes her lips against the newborns. Darling boy, that is more than an interest. Those are my favorite pastime. Itachi smiles and kisses her. Then why don't you teach me all about this pastimes of yours? He might as well indulge himself in whatever comfort he could get before the escape. He and Sasuke faced an uncertain future. Mei had been one of the few constants in his life since becoming a vampire. He'd miss her. It wasn't love, but it was safe and it felt good. She was a skilled seductress. Then come with me. Mei rises from the couch and takes her little lover by the hand, pulling him up with effortless grace. She strides towards the hall that led upstairs, a pleased smile on her face. She could stand to teach him a few more things before handing him over to the mysterious Uchiha clan. Itachi traces the bracelet he'd carefully hidden underneath his sleeve as he begins sorting through his belongings. It was a struggle deciding what was needed most that could be carried off the easiest. I'd start packing as well, Sasuke. Mei gave me a token from our rescuer and I did the same. He'll be wearing the necklace. It could happen at any time. We need to be ready. The ruby one I got you for your birthday. Sasuke raises an eyebrow. No wonder he hadn't seen Itachi wearing it the last few days. Let me get this straight. You gave the present I got for you to your cougar so that she could give it to some guy we've never met who's supposed to come abduct us. It sounds awful when you put it that way, but it was the easiest way to recognize them. Itachi winces as guilt pangs inside him. He should have chosen something else, but it was all he had on hand. Something that would show he was serious about getting out of there. And what else did she tell you about this guy? Is he bringing some friends to help get us out of here? Or is he old enough to kill Orochimaru and free us that way? Sasuke crosses his arms and leans back against one of the tall posts of Itachi's four-poster bed. Mei had told him a lot about this guy, as Sasuke called him. Most of which, Itachi doubted Sasuke would appreciate. That Obito had chosen the perfect person to assist us in our escape. That didn't make Sasuke feel much better. It only made him wonder who the fuck was being sent to help them. And why hadn't Itachi been given more information? Were they just supposed to wait around like sitting ducks until a rescue came? And when is this guy supposed to show up? Mei didn't tell me. I assume so we won't give ourselves away by unintentionally altering our behavior. Itachi sighs, fully aware he must sound like a fool to his younger brother, but it couldn't be helped. We will recognize him by the necklace and the phrase a gift from the ancestors. Male, a phrase, a necklace, did she say anything else? How he'd be dressed, what he looks like, his name, his age. If Sasuke was going to sneak out of his room to help, then he wanted more clues on who he was looking for. She said he was well-spoken, polite, and he has curly hair. Itachi knew that he was playing with fire, but Sasuke deserved an accurate description. He's a member of the Uchiha clan and Mei said he was handsome. Right, so they were waiting for a relative to come and pick them up. Fantastic. What do you want me to do? Sasuke couldn't believe that he was going along with this. But anything to get away from Orochimaru, he supposed. Continue on as you have been. The way Mei spoke implied that he'd be arriving soon. Itachi shakes his head, pulling Sasuke into a hug. Just be patient a while longer. I know that it isn't much to go on, but it's something. Be patient, Itachi said. It was funny to hear that come out of his brother's mouth when Sasuke knew that Itachi was even more impatient to get out of here than he was. Fine, I'll be patient. What should I pack? It was obvious that he was going to have to, and maybe that would help him to stave off the persistent boredom he'd felt these last 2 years. Pack only what you can carry easily enough to run with and what you think you'll need most. Itachi knew that when the time came, speed would be the greatest ally. Right, fill a backpack. Though Sasuke would still work on filling a bigger bag in case they had the option to take more. His arms squeeze a little tighter around his big brother. Itachi, are you sure about this? This sounded risky and Sasuke didn't want to lose his big brother for some empty promises. Sasuke, I wish that I could offer you something more concrete. I truly do, but you know what Orochimaru is capable of. You've seen what he's made me do while I'm still a newborn. His cruelty will only get worse. Itachi leans his forehead against his brother's. The simple contact was enough to anchor him in the present moment. Without Sasuke, Itachi would have given into the insanity by now. I won't let him use you the way he does me without a fight. It's far from ideal, but I believe Mei sincerely wants to help us. For now, I'll put my faith in the man she entrusted with our safety. Alright. Sasuke wasn't at all sure about this, but he'd trust his brother. And for now, that meant trusting this relative of theirs to show up ready to get them out of here fast. Several tall red candles provide a soft glow to the otherwise darkened room. Deep scarlet paint coats the walls and golden ornaments shimmer as they reflect the flames onto the polished wooden floor. Before the candles on the altar, a lone figure kneels upon a large, flat cushion. His hands pressed together, his head remains bowed in prayer. The flames flicker softly. Ancestors guide me, for I am in need of your wisdom. A soft sigh passes his lips. In 14 days, I will leave this place in search of 2 members of my family that have been taken away from us. I do not know what I will find when I arrive, but I ask for your help. Show me what it is that I lack on my way to save and protect them. Slowly, soft onyx eyes open, holding within them caged reflections of the dancing flames. A pale hand reaches out for a thin piece of bamboo, infused with incense. He sets it alight and rests it in an old stone cup. He reaches to the floor and lifts a small bowl to the table, in it resting 3 oranges and a handful of cherries. A bowl of rice joins it, another of spices, then herbs tied around the stem of a lotus blossom. He bows once more with his forehead pressed to the floor, then rises slowly and snuffs out the candles. It was a ritual he'd done countless times before and not once had it failed him. Not that he expected that the ancestors would deliver his long-lost relatives to him on a silver platter. No, he had asked for help, but he would have to carry out all of the tasks himself. But in such a delicate situation, he would take a burst of clarity and inspiration at the behest of the ancestors when the time was right. He steps silently from the room and loses the door behind him, leaving only the faint stars and a sliver of the moon to light the room from beyond the windows. He climbs down 1 flight of stairs to the 2nd floor and turns into his workshop, where he kept his sketch pads and notebooks, his climbing gear and his ancient guando. He runs his fingers over the shaft of the pole arm, considering it for a moment, before turning away. No, he refused to turn this mission into a bloodbath. He was not like his cousins and he did not revel in war and fighting. He was different. He'd always been different, and he always would. A fact that they never let him forget. His gaze falls onto the climbing gear. That, on the other hand, could be useful if he needed a cover story. So he reaches for the 2 bags and pulls them from the closet to deposit them on the floor. These cousins of his were nothing but slaves to Orochimaru, that snake, held captive there for his entertainment. I promise that you 2 won't have to suffer him for any longer than you have to. I beg of you, give me a little more time. This had to be times right, because if he timed it poorly, his new cousins could end up dead. He couldn't let that happen, not if he had the power to save them. Are you almost done plotting your next 50 moves in there? A glint of silver hair gleams at the door to his workshop. You're a good strategist, just try not to overdo it. You always have your fall back, which might be your best shot of getting them out of there. Yes, he knew that. He knew that he had the power to take them from there. The question was whether he should use it or not. Thank you for the advice, Kakashi. I'll evaluate the situation when I come to it, but you might be right. And that, in itself, was mildly terrifying. Do you want any help loading up the jeep? Kakashi steps into the room and holds out a helping hand. The onyx eyes warm and soften. Yeah, thanks. He runs a hand through his short, curly hair and smiles. He could do this. It wasn't the first time he'd done something difficult, even dangerous. But unlike most young vampires, he wasn't one to run headfirst into a challenge. No, he could be patient and wait for the wisdom he sought to bless him with its presence. He would not rush, he would not put innocent people in danger. I'll bring them here first. This place is secret, safe. Tell Obito that I'll contact him again when I've got them. Very well. Kakashi takes up one of the large, heavy duffel bags. Heavy for a human, anyway. Just be sure to get yourself out of there alive as well, brat. His lips twitch in wry amusement. I know. I don't plan to waste the life that Obito bought for me. Not when it had come at the price it did. Not when I'm finally content. Content, satisfied, but never quite happy. It was a word that Kakashi rarely heard from the boy's lips. We want you to be happy, you know. Yes, he knew that too. I am happy, Kakashi. I'm happy with you and Obito and my siblings. Family is all I ever wanted, and I have that. Kakashi sighs softly. Yes, they had family. And what a complicated family theirs was. Itachi loathed Orochimaru's gatherings. They were held on a bi-weekly basis, and while he liked to maintain the pretense of playing the part of a gracious host, Itachi knew better. Everything that Viper did was laced with venom. His every move was strategic and psychotic all at once, and business was no exception. Over the years, Itachi had learned most of their names. Though there were always a few new faces at each and every gathering. It varied how long they stuck around. If there was one thing Orochimaru excelled at, it was reading other people. He was able to discern the deepest desires of the souls of others. The yearning that burned the hottest in both beating and unbeating hearts alike. There were three kinds of guests: devoted followers, business associates, and Orochimaru's friends. The last group was the most dangerous. The ones who would look at him in a way that never failed to make his skin crawl and leave Itachi's hands itching to find the nearest stake. A smile was his only real protection, though. It was a weapon he was employing even at this very moment. It's unfortunate the tariffs are impacting your business to such an extent. I'm certain Lord Orochimaru will do what he can to help you. If nothing else, his time in this pretty hell had taught Itachi a number of things. Whether it was about the supernatural, psychology, culture, business, medicine, or politics. He'd learned a great deal about the vampire hierarchy. Normally, a vampire of Orochimaru's age would fall into the upper middle, at best, but the snake had slithered his way towards the top of vampire society by manipulating others. It was sickening to watch. People were nothing more than pawns to him. Just like those poor humans Orochimaru had compelled for Itachi to practice his own compulsion skills on. The very thought was almost enough to make him throw up the bloodwine he'd been sipping strategically throughout the evening. Yes. It seems that humans are doing nothing these days but losing their business sense. How is anyone meant to turn a profit when these tariffs and taxes are exorbitantly high? And how was he meant to convey Danzo's concerns to the master of the house when Danzo insisted that he play nice with this vampire brat? This boy was the bane of Homura Mitokado's existence, and he would very much like him removed from his sight immediately. But patience and delicacy were demanded of him. Befriend the boy, make an ally of him, for he had Orochimaru's ear. You are still too young to understand, but spend the next few centuries by your sire's side and perhaps you'll receive an education to undo all of the human nonsense that's been placed in your head. I'll be sure to take that into consideration. It takes all of Itachi's self-control to resist the impulse to rip the other vampire's throat out with his bare fangs. Unfortunately, it wasn't worth the risk. Causing a scene wouldn't end well for him. Whether it earned Orochimaru's ire or worse, his approval. Have you sampled the bloodwine tonight? I'm told it's from a good year. A childish diversion. A single insult and already the child wanted to kill him. Orochimaru certainly didn't train his children very well. I have, it's passable. I do believe it's time for me to seek out your sire for serious conversation. Impudent whelp. Please do. He speaks most highly of you and I'm certain he'd enjoy the intelligent discourse more than the drivel he's politely enduring now. It was a lie. The other vampire's name was almost never mentioned by Orochimaru, and when it was nothing more than an afterthought. Still, if the conceited vamp could distract the viper while Itachi looked for his knight, all the better. HMPH. Child. And one with no manners nor any idea as to how to properly address one's elders. Mitokado sweeps away, certain to tell Danzo of this unpleasant development. Unfortunate. The slug was able to see through polite lies. Itachi shakes his head at the thought. He had bigger things to worry about. Would he be coming tonight? Would May's friend even come at all? I'm sorry. He's one of those traditional types who believes that newborns should worship the ground their elders walk on, even if they haven't earned that respect. A pair of dark eyes glow warmly as a pale hand takes Itachi's and strokes the soft skin there. I like your bracelet. Is it jade? Itachi was tempted to ask if there was another kind of elder. Save for May, he had yet to meet one who didn't fit that description one way or another. The kindness in the vampire's eyes stops Itachi in his tracks. His touch was gentle, almost caressing. Against all reason, Itachi feels his lips soften into a gesture that was almost alien to him anymore. A sincere smile. Thank you. Yes, it's jade. It was a gift from a friend of someone very precious to me. I've grown rather fond of it. To whom do I have the honor of speaking? The name my parents gave me is Jushui, but you can call me Shisui. A kind, gentle smile curves his lips. It's a little easier to pronounce, don't you think? Itachi tilts his head as he examines the other smiling vampire further. His hair was dark as a raven's feathers but expressed itself in wild curls. Appearances could be deceiving, but the vampire before him could have passed for either a high school senior or a young college student. I like both versions, but I'll admit that Shisui rolls off the tongue easier. I'm Itachi. A beautiful name to suit a beautiful face. Shisui lifts Itachi's hand to examine the gold-etched bracelet half concealed beneath a long, dark gray sleeve. The words engraved here couldn't be truer. Do you know what they say? You're too kind and I'm afraid not. I know it's Chinese, but I can't read it. Itachi could understand when people were speaking Japanese and even recognized a few symbols. Enough to know that Chinese and Japanese overlapped a great deal, but that was as far cry from being able to read it. Shisui's eyes glow briefly red and reflect little spots of the golden inlay. It says to treasure family, for they are a gift from the ancestors. He smiles and reaches for a silver chain around his neck with a familiar shadowed ruby pendant. It's nice to finally meet you, Itachi. Itachi stares at the pendant almost unable to believe it. It was the very same one Sasuke had given him. The one that would symbolize their rescuer in it. A gift from the ancestors. It had to be him. You came. What's your plan? Patience, Itachi, you wouldn't want to draw too much attention to us. Shisui's gaze sharpens slightly in warning. After all, we've only just met. What would people think if you took me into your room before we've gotten to know each other? What did you have in mind? Freedom was so close, but so far away. Every fiber of Itachi's being told him to grab Sasuke and to run, but Shisui was right. It'd draw too much attention. He'd have to be patient, just a little while longer. Itachi's voice was broken and didn't truly qualify as a whisper. He didn't want to tempt fate. If he raised his voice too high, Itachi worried his dreams of freedom would vanish into thin air along with Shisui. They had to move quickly. They had to get Sasuke and escape the Viper's lair. Put as much distance between them and Orochimaru as possible. Sneak me to your brother and I can do the rest. Shisui's voice lowers to a nearly silent murmur. Everything rested on secrecy now. He couldn't afford to fail. He wouldn't let it happen. How skilled are you at seduction, Itachi? Skilled enough to convince them. Itachi glides his hand against Shisui's cheek in coaxing caress. Suddenly, Mei's question made a great deal more sense to him. How skilled are you at being seduced? He leans closer, brushing his lips against Shisui's ear in a ghost of a kiss. Shisui tilts his head, his eyes growing a little glassy on command. His fingers dance up along Itachi's hips to rest on his waist. Try me and find out. All right, I will. Itachi licks the shell of Shisui's ear before nibbling on the bottom. Slowly, but surely making his way further down. Leaving a trail of small, open-mouthed kisses along his jawline until he captures the other man's lips in a slow kiss. The slow brush of lips grows warmer as Shisui coaxes the newborn to lean flush against him. His lips seek out Itachi's to suck and bruise them, his tongue lingering to soothe the pinpricks left behind. His vision takes on a red hue as his skin grows warm. Mei had never kissed him like that before. She'd been an exceptional kisser. The woman possessed a finesse born from centuries of practice, but Shisui's kisses make a fire burn low in his belly. Itachi returns them eagerly, wrapping his arms around the other vampire's neck. His fingers slide through those soft, dark curls. As his tongue seeks out the innermost secrets of Itachi's mouth, Shisui's arms slide up and around Itachi's back to hold the newborn firmly in his arms. Despite looking a touch older, Itachi's slim frame stopped just short of his own 6 feet. His weight felt comfortable in Shisui's embrace. A soft moan escapes Itachi's lips as he continues the kiss. His own tongue responding in kind to Shisui's. All the while his fingers threaded through that dark mane, his other hand gliding along Shisui's arms. His knight had some impressive biceps. A soft moan vibrates in Shisui's throat as he breaks the kiss. He could hear the snickering of a couple of vampires in the corner and knew exactly who they were pointing at. He leans in again, ducking to the side to bite at Itachi's ear. Itachi, he smiles as his voice carries just enough, There's got to be a better place for this than in front of all your sire's guests. Itachi squirms at the bite. Upstairs. Now. His own voice carries an air of a growl with just a trace of huskiness. Sadly, Itachi didn't have to try to sound affected by Shisui's kisses. There was no need to pretend. Follow me. He steps back and offers Shisui his hand. Glassy-eyed and slightly flushed, Shisui takes Itachi's hand. Okay. It was a technique perfected long ago, and now no one would think twice about the two young vampires escaping for some alone time. Itachi leads Shisui towards the stairs. Thankfully, none of the vampires throwing knowing glances their way were Orochimaru. They might escape this just yet. All the he keeps his gaze fixed on Shisui as they ascend the stairs. Just a little more. Last door on the left. Shisui follows obediently to the second floor and along a hall dotted with darkened windows. How anyone could bear to live here was, Itachi, I'm sorry. For what? Itachi throws him a quizzical look before reaching Sasuke's door. He knocks. Sasuke, it's me. Open up. Quickly. We don't have time to waste. The door cracks open and Shisui falls silent. A pair of wary eyes glance out from behind the heavy wooden door. What is it, Itachi? A gift from the ancestors. She came through, Sasuke. Itachi smiles, but his eyes were darting everywhere. Could they really do it? Could they escape after all? He'd dreamed about little else for the past few years. Sasuke's eyes widen, then they glance at the man behind his brother. How much can we bring? As much as we can carry. Shisui wasn't oblivious. He knew that leaving this place would be difficult enough, but going somewhere else without anything of their own would be just as hard. Sasuke nods and shuts the door. After half a minute inside, he opens it again with his backpack slung over his shoulder and his shoes on his feet. Let's go. My duffel is under Itachi's bed. Fortunately, my room is across from his. Itachi nods, opening the door. Hurry, though. He grabs Sasuke's hand as the two brothers slip out of the room and run towards Itachi's. They had to get their stuff. Then they could go. Then they could be free. Shisui slips into the room behind them and shuts the door. The lock clicks into place and the glassy stare vanishes from his gaze. The soft, playful demeanor disappears along with it, leaving the mysterious young vampire looking older than his appearance would suggest. Grab everything you want to take. I'll go out the window first and you can throw things down to me. My jeep is sitting a few miles away from here, but as long as we get out quietly, we shouldn't have a problem reaching it. Sasuke bends down next to the bed to pull his duffel out from underneath it and glances up at the newcomer, their rescuer, according to Itachi. Who are you? Since I don't have a more accurate term for you, let's just say that we're cousins. Shisui smiles thinly. And let's try not to put an impossible number on how many times removed I am. Itachi does the same, grabbing his own bag. We can examine the family tree more in depth later. Shisui, jump. We'll follow you. He'd follow anyone, anywhere if it meant getting out of this place. He knew that Sasuke felt the same way. Alright. Shisui takes Sasuke's duffel in one hand and Itachi's in the other as the younger brother opens the latch on the window and slides it open, then removes the screen. He shunts the duffels out first, then hops onto the windowsill. Sasuke, follow me first, then Itachi. I'll catch you both at the bottom. Fine. Sasuke watches suspiciously as this new vampire studies them both, then disappears from the window and jumps 20 feet to the ground below. He was so graceful about it that Sasuke wondered if he'd even bent any blades on grass down there. Go, Sasuke. I'll be right behind you. Shisui will catch you. Itachi nudges his brother forward. No matter how athletic Sasuke was by human standards, currently Itachi had an edge when it came to speed. He was a vampire. It was best to give Sasuke a head start. I promise. You'd better. Still, even though Sasuke was apprehensive about climbing out a window and jumping that far, he fits himself through the opening and holds on to the ledge as his feet dangle out into thin air. His fingers tighten, then he pushes himself off the windowsill and out into the air. He hangs there, suspended for a second, before falling down and landing safely in the vampire's waiting arms. Itachi sighs in relief. Sasuke was safe. Shisui had caught him. It was his turn now. He makes his way towards the window. It was already open, so he doesn't hesitate to jump. Unlike Sasuke, he wasn't worried about impact. His vampire reflexes meant he was able to land on his feet, if less gracefully than Shisui. Let's go. Shisui sighs quietly and hefts the bags once more over his shoulder. Let's go, it's best if we're out of the state by sunrise. With any luck, 2 days from now, he'd be home. That sounds wonderful. Itachi nods as he follows after Shisui with Sasuke at his side. They'd made it out of the house. Now the true key to their freedom was distance. With 2 duffels carried in his left hand, Shisui places his right on Sasuke's back and coaxes him forward towards the edge of the property, where a tall stone wall would conceal them as they made their escape. But not everything was meant to go to plan. Shisui's ears twitch as footsteps wander through the grass towards them, and he looks back over his shoulder to see 3 shadowed figures. Shit. Shisui, carry Sasuke and run. There was no way a human was going to outrun a vampire. Shisui might be able to get away with Sasuke, though. Maybe Itachi could distract them. As Shisui sets down the bags, Sasuke's eyes widen in panic. No, Itachi, I'm not leaving without you. Then I'll carry you, but we have to hurry. Shisui, keep moving. Itachi scoops his brother up in his arms and starts running faster than he had ever thought possible. We need to get out of here. We've been spotted. But Shisui doesn't move, he merely turns to face the shadows with an unnatural calm. I'll be right behind you, Itachi. His eyes glow a vibrant scarlet as the young vampires close the distance. 2 men, identical, even down to their washrag gray hair, and a woman with hair the color of blood. Stop. Shisui, come with us. You're outnumbered. Even if Itachi fought alongside him, it'd still be 3 vampires against 2 and they'd have to protect Sasuke. Running was the only option. Itachi. Sasuke fights against his brother's hold, his eyes straining to see their rescuer through the darkness. What is he doing? Outnumbered or not, it didn't matter. They had been seen, and now they had to be unseen. Shisui holds up a hand as the 3 vampires slow to a stop before him. What's going on here? The red-haired woman strains against the hold. Those 2 aren't supposed to be out here. They're not. Sasuke is in his room and Itachi left the party to get acquainted with a new friend upstairs. Shisui's once dim aura flares strong and bright. You came out here to get some fresh air and look for a few pigeons to torment. You found a couple of pigeons but they flew off before you could catch them. You're disappointed, but Orochimaru will punish you if you run away from the mansion to chase pointless birds. Return inside and forget that you ever saw me. 3 blank gazes stare back at Shisui. And for a moment, all is silent and they do nothing. Then the woman turns around and scoffs. Sakin, Ukin, come on. Quit chasing the fucking pigeons, already. The twins stagger a little as they turn, but wander off after the vampiress as they seem to forget their quarry entirely. Itachi stares in awe and horror. Had Shisui just used compulsion on other vampires? That should have been impossible. Wasn't that the very reason why Orochimaru drug humans to the estate for Itachi to practice his own skills? How did you do that? He watches as their would-be foes depart. Never mind. Lead the way to Jeep. Shisui had performed a miracle. Questioning it while they were still in the middle of their escape was just an exercise in masochistic stupidity. Shisui takes up the bags and glances at the brothers as Sasuke slides from Itachi's grip. Would you keep what I just did a secret, please? It's not something I like people to know about. Sasuke glances in the direction of the retreating vampires, then back at their cousin. You look younger than Itachi, but how old are you? Scarlet eyes dim back to onyx, becoming nearly invisible in the darkness. Older than either of you, younger than that snake. He holds his arm out and beckons to Sasuke. I'll carry you to the jeep, I can get us there quickly. You saved us. The least we can do is keep your secret. Itachi still wasn't certain how another vampire could compel others of their own kind. It clearly didn't have to do with his age if he was younger than Orochimaru. Go to him, Sasuke. He's right. Shisui will get you there faster. It wounded his pride to admit it, but Itachi wasn't delusional. After that display of power and witnessing how easily Shisui had jumped from that window, the gap between them was immense. Sasuke obeys, but the uncertainty in his eyes is more than obvious. Shisui smiles apologetically at Itachi as he wraps an arm around Sasuke. Follow me, the jeep is just off the highway south of here. With Sasuke and the bags secured, he disappears into the darkness, leaving barely a trace behind. The trace was just enough for Itachi to follow. While a few miles wouldn't be difficult for him, it would have been for Sasuke. It was easier just to have one of them carry him. As for Itachi, he did his best to keep pace. Less than a minute later, Shisui sets Sasuke and the bags down in a small parking lot off the highway that catered to a local park. The parking lot is deserted, save for one blue Cherokee Trailhawk sitting at the far end. I apologize in advance, but this is going to be a long trip. There are bathrooms here if you need them, Sasuke, and I have blood ready in the trunk for you, Itachi. Your bags need to be hidden under my climbing gear, but you can throw your backpacks into an empty seat inside. Shisui pulls out his keys and clicks the button. The lights flash and the rear door pops open. If we're stopped at any point, you two are my cousins and we're going to Montana for a camping trip. If we're stopped past Montana, then we're going home after our trip. Got it, Itachi nods, placing his under Shisui's gear. Understood. Cousins going or returning on a camping trip. Everything's been prepared for a long drive. Well, at least if they were driving they were moderately safer. Orochimaru's goons would have to be willing to chase them and possibly risk an accident in public if they somehow found them. Sasuke, do you want to sit in the front or middle? I'll sit in the middle. He figured it would be better if he was away from clear windows, just in case. He tosses his duffel into the back, then opens the closest door and slips into a seat with his backpack on the floor. Shisui closes up the back and walks around to slide into the driver's seat. He reaches over into the passenger seat and swings the door open before pulling his hand back and lifting a cooler off the seat. Here, I know that only one of you needs to eat, but I made sure to pack enough food for both of you. There's chilled yogurt and granola, sandwiches, and some fruit in there. That was very kind of you. Thank you. At least they wouldn't have to worry about going hungry or thirsty on the drive. 2 days without blood or food would have been torture for both of them, but manageable. In the worst-case scenario, Itachi could have nipped Sasuke, but he'd never drank from him directly before. It seemed like tempting fate. If you ever need a break from driving, I can drive if you give the directions. Itachi gets inside and buckles his seatbelt. Shisui smiles faintly and buckles himself in place, then looks in the rear-view mirror to see Sasuke making himself comfortable with the cooler and backpacks. It's fine. I can handle 40 hours of driving. You should get yourself some rest and try relaxing a little. I'll even take us the scenic route so you can enjoy the view. Itachi bites his lower lip. I'm certain you're more than a capable driver. If his driving was anything like his compulsion abilities, Shisui could have been a professional racer. Wouldn't the fastest route be preferable, though? We're lucky that you were able to turn them back, but Orochimaru will notice our absence sooner or later. That's why I packed sleeping bags, blankets, and pillows. Shisui was nothing if not prepared. It's going to be a long trip no matter what route we take. The main highways will have traffic, the scenic route will take us through the mountains. Either way, we're not making it to Washington for a couple of days. He turns on the Jeep and presses on the gas. He turns out of the parking lot and onto the highway that would take them west. Washington. Sasuke finally turns his attention away from the cooler he'd been digging into for a sandwich. You're taking us to the other side of the country. Yes, I'm taking you both to Seattle. The clan has multiple estates in the area, including my sire's villa. It was the safest place in the country for these two. All right, and Washington is as good a place as any. The further we can get away from that viper, the better. Itachi settles back against his seat. Shisui had saved them. He wouldn't protest the scenic route further. Thank you for this. You didn't have to. Shisui's gaze softens and he takes one hand off the wheel to hold Itachi's. Your family. I wouldn't have left you in that place. None of us would. It's cruel and unconscionable. It would have brought shame on my ancestors. They were family. Barely. Who knew how many branches separated them, but to vampires apparently that didn't matter much. We've seen a lot of cruel and unconscionable behaviors in the past couple years. So, believe me when I say we're grateful you came for us. Whatever the reason, Shisui's dark eyes find Itachi's, then he presses a brief kiss to Itachi's forehead before placing his hand back on the wheel. It may not mean the same to you, but family is everything to me. I know that trust is in short supply, but if you trust in anything, please trust in that. I feel the same way. Itachi looks back at Sasuke before meeting Shisui's gaze. Family is everything to me as well.